Hey, good morning, everyone. How's it going today? It's Coach Alvarez. Another episode of Coffee with Coach. Hope everyone out there is doing good. Got the mind in the right place. Up making some moves. If you don't have your mind in the right place, like I always say, these videos are to help put the mind in the right place. So again, listen to some Jocko this morning. Again, I'm kind of just straightening up the house, more in the mirror, and the wasted time episode on his podcast was really, really good. I think a lot of people, everyone can relate to some sort of wasted time. You wasted time at some point or another. You should have did something that you thought about doing, didn't get after it, and then maybe you did and you finally did do it, or maybe you didn't do it. Maybe you haven't done it yet, but you should. And it's one of those things where you can't let your frustration or your emotions get the best of you. You just got to get into the game, and that's what he's talking about. He goes like, it doesn't matter when you get in the game, you just got to get in the game, because he was talking about, there was someone that messaged him, and I guess the guy's dad passed away when he was 10. So he tells Jocko, he's like, for 12 years, I just kind of wasted my life away until I guess he heard one of his podcasts, got motivated, took some steps, took some actions, and he lost 90 pounds, I think it was. He started lifting weights, he's taking better care of himself, and he's listing all these things in this message to Jocko of all the things where he's improved in his life and how things are better for him. And he asked Jocko, he's like, well, how do you ever feel frustrated because you have wasted time? And Jocko was like, no, not at all. Because as much as you want to sit there and kind of dwell on the fact that you started something late, the point is that you started it. You're getting to it. You're getting after it. And you're doing it now. And so you got to forget about how many years you wasted trying to get to a point. You're at that point now, and now the time is to go forward with that, right? And I love that because I think, like I said, all of us at some point have done that, and this guy is like, well, he's afraid of not reaching his full potential because he started late. And Jocko's like, well, a lot of that is on purpose. Like, the things that you weren't doing, like you thought you should have earlier, and you're doing them now. Those things were put in place because you can now tell yourself, well, I don't want to go back to that. That's not the person I want to be. That's not where I want to go. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to go. So if I rest and I back off the things that I'm doing now, then I'm going to go back to that place where I was at, and I don't want to go there. And I can relate to that heavily. Like, there's a lot of things that, I wish I would have done earlier, started earlier, and I just did it. I'll give you an example, like my house. When I moved to Texas, it was one of those things where I bought a house right away, 2001, and I was like, oh, I'll be here for 5 years. Put a little 5-year mark on it, boom, and then I'll go get a different house. That didn't happen. That did not happen. I just recently moved, okay? It's 2020. Actually, I moved in 2019. But that 5 years turned into a lot longer than that, Do I wish I would have moved a lot sooner? Yeah, absolutely. But there's nothing I can do about that. I was so focused on so many things with my business and jiu-jitsu that I just didn't really focus on moving. I just stayed where I was at, and it is what it is, kind of thing. And I had a friend of mine kind of drop something in my ear and kind of put that bug in my ear and kind of got me motivated to make a move. And then I just completely changed my mindset to that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go all in on it. And that's exactly what I did. It was, for those of you that moved or have moved before, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It pulled me away from a lot of things, pulled me away from teaching classes, training, competing, all kind of things, but it was well worth it. And now where I'm at, it's one of those things where I was like, well, yeah, man, I wish I would have moved. You know, there's times where it's like, you know, man, what if I would have moved earlier? You know, but I can't sit there and dwell on that. I'm very happy with where I'm at. I'm very happy that I made the move. I'm happy with a lot of things. So there's no reason to go back into the past and be like, well, what if I would have moved 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What if I would have, you know, moved when I said I was going to move? Can't sit there, man. I didn't do it. So it is what it is. It's what I'm doing now kind of thing, you know? So, and I know a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu can relate to this too. Doesn't matter, like if you're like 4 years old, 5 years old kids, man, you look at these kids these days and you look and you're like, man, I wish I would have started jiu-jitsu like at that age. You know, and for me, there was no jiu-jitsu when until, you know, jiu-jitsu didn't really hit the United States till like 1993, you know, when you see the first UFC come out. And then it took years after that for academies to start coming up for people to start learning it and teaching it. And then now you get to see 4 or 5 year olds, you know, doing jiu-jitsu, you know. And I get students all the time that come in and, you know, they start making transformations. And one of the biggest things that I hear all the time is like, man, I wish I would have did this sooner. I wish I would have did this sooner. You know, I wish I would have just looked this up or whatever. You can't do that. Yeah, we all wish we would have done a lot of things sooner. And we have wasted time. But you're in the game now. And like what he's saying, like for those that have started jiu-jitsu late and you wish you would have did it earlier, you're on the mat now. You know, a lot of us are getting back on the mats. You're in the game now, man. So you take it for what it is, and then you just keep on improving and going forward. You know, there's no sense of being like, well, man, I wish I did jiu-jitsu when I was, you know, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I don't know how many people walk through the doors, and when I ask them what brought them in, man, I drove by this place for like 2 years, or I've been thinking about it for 3 years, and it's years. It's not months. It's years. People actually think about doing jiu-jitsu for years before they actually take the steps and actions to walk in somewhere or pick up the phone call and then walk in somewhere and then start doing it. And when they start doing it, you know, they kind of feel bad because they're seeing all the benefits, the health benefits. You know, they're losing weight. They feel better about themselves. The self-esteem is improving. And the list goes on. There's so many great benefits to jiu-jitsu. And then you just kind of, some people just will just seem sad for a second. Like, you know, man, I wish I would have did this earlier. You know, yeah. Again, we all wish. There's a lot of things that we could be here all day talking about the things that I wish I would have did sooner. But when I got to them, we get to that place, that destination, and we realize this is where we want to be. This is where we're at. And I don't want to go back to the other place. We were in those other places, or we wasted certain time to be there so that it's in the back of our mind of where we don't want to go. And like he was talking about in this podcast, he's telling this individual, you know, you can help people with that. You know, you can inspire people with what you've done. The things where the places you were at before and where you're at now, that's motivation and inspiration for other people to see, you know what, I can do that too. I can make those changes too, you know. So it doesn't matter what's going on right now, whatever you're not happy with, you can make those changes starting today. You can, if it's whatever it is, it's your life. Like you have total control over the things that you think, say, and do. So you can make those necessary steps and changes and actions today. And then when you get to those points where you are happy and you are where you're at, you can't look back and be like, man, I wish I would have, or what if, and you know, you're there, you're making the moves now, you're in a place where it's good, you know, or if you're not, we're a place where you're good, let's get there. Let's get to the place where it's good and where you want to be. Take those steps, take those actions today, not tomorrow, today. Put things in place, write it down, and this is where I'm going to be, and this is where I'm going to get to, and that's it, you know. So everyone wastes time. Everyone procrastinates on a lot of things. Man, when you get there, man, you just can't go backwards, all right? Can't go backwards. You got to go forward and appreciate the mistakes that you did make so that you know where not to make those mistakes at again, all right? So really good stuff today. Wasted time, regrets, can't live in the past, got to move forward, all right? Have a great day. Catch you next time.